Why, hello there. Didn't see you. My gods, are you looking gorgeous. What's that? You want to run away with me to the countryside? Absolutely. I live for you. You just have to do one thing. One teensy tiny thing. It's trivial. It shouldn't matter. You love me, don't you? You want to be with me forever. And all you need to do is... How's it going, everyone? I hope you are having a fantastic day. You know, there are a lot of conditions in D&D to keep track of. You've got your blind, you've got your charm, you've got your deafened, you've got your frightened, you've got your grappled, incapacitated, invisible, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, restrained, stunned, unconscious, exhaustion, and a few others. But I think those are the big ones, and I'm totally not reading off of a list right now. But the number one condition that warrants further explanation, without a doubt, bar none, easily, is the charmed condition. Because there are so many layers for how that is supposed to work, and the flavor that it's supposed to work versus the verbiage that the charm actually has, and how you use it to balance combat, and how the players need to integrate it into their play style as well as their character choices. There's just so much to cover, and I just have to explain it. So that's exactly what we are going to do. In this video, we are going to be talking about how to implement charm into your games as a DM, as well as how to play a charmed character for players, because both of those things are not as intuitive as they seem. So without further ado, let's get into it. So to start us off, we are going to be talking to all you GMs out there. How do you implement charms in your combat situations? Because there are many out of combat uses as well, but for this video, we're going to be talking about combat because that's where things kind of start to get a little dicey. Because moment-to-moment decision-making is so important, and that is when your character's resources are mostly being used. Let's begin with the written definition of the charmed effect. Quote, a charmed creature can't attack the charmer or target the charmer with harmful abilities or magical effects. The charmer has advantage on any ability check to interact socially with the creature. That's the only thing that is written. However, if you see creatures that have this effect, oftentimes they have like a lot of additional things to it, like, for example, the vampire. The charmed target regards the vampire as a trusted friend to be heeded and protected. Although the target isn't under the vampire's control, it takes the vampire's requests or actions in the most favorable way it can, and it is a willing target for the vampire's bite attack. Like, there's a lot to unpack there, and this charm varies from creature to creature, so yeah, let's go a little further into this, shall we? So let's start off with the DM side of things. DMs, when do you use the charm effect in your games? You use the charm effect when you have balanced the battlefield to incorporate one of the players turning against the other in some way, shape, or form. Charm's primary function in combat is to turn the party against each other in a very dramatic fashion, which is awesome if you do it right, and very not awesome if you don't. Reactions to losing control of your player vary from player to player, but the general consensus is that it's a feels bad moment when the DM takes control of your player. So for the most part, try to bring your player into the fold with controlling their charmed character, making it an RP moment, or a moment where they can kind of rationalize this conflict within them to turn against their party members. But at the same time, you need to enforce the effect that the charm has, because when you are balancing a combat encounter and you use charm, you should be able to understand the numbers relative to the characters that is charmed's damage output or spell output or XYZ, BQB, whatever. They need to do something devastating to their party. They need to actually lean into the charm effect. And that is why you should probably specify specifically what they are compelled to do. If a vampire charms you, say that you are compelled to defend them at all costs. You could even say more concrete language like, if the party continues to attack this vampire, then you will need to attack them in turn. However, there are players that just straight don't like doing this. They don't like turning against their party members. They don't like losing control of their character. Use the charm effect to your own discretion, because in my experience, there are just some players that you just shouldn't bother charming. It feels too bad for them, and it might spark up some other thing that they dealt with prior relative to another D&D game or life. Just, it is a moment of pure helplessness, and people respond to it in different ways. So charm doesn't work for every player, and out of all of the conditions, it's the one that should be used most cautiously and selectively. And of course, as I said earlier, encourage them to take control of the charm effect so that they can kind of have a little more agency over what resources are used. However, you should also offer the option for you to take control of their character. That way, there isn't any possibility for resentment of the inter-party dynamics of like, oh, you used this ability on me, you could have used something else, so that means that you were actually out to get me. If you take that responsibility off their shoulders, I'm sure that there were a great many players that would appreciate it, so offer that. However, on the flip side of that, if they say that they are willing and that they want to play a charmed character, and then they start doing like a bunch of purposefully suboptimal things, especially if it is in direct contradiction to the spirit of the charm effect that you just put on them, that's a privilege that can be revoked, and you can absolutely take control away from them to do a little bit more devastating attacks to balance out the encounter the way that you intended. However, if they do that, that is generally a telltale sign that they can't deal with charm very well and that you should avoid it, but also at the same time, it's just something that is a little hard to understand and comprehend, and that's why I'm making this video, and when we get to the player side of things, we'll discuss that further, but for the most part, be okay with taking control away from them, and if they are charmed and they don't want to kill their party members or attack them, you can take control of them, but still incentivize them to have some kind of agency so that it's not necessarily them losing control of their characters entirely, but limiting the agency that they have to their resource pool. So there you go, DMs. Players, let's have a talk. So charm sucks, as all conditions do. If you are paralyzed and you lose your turn, that sucks. If you're stunned, you lose your turn, that sucks. If you're blinded and have all your attacks disadvantaged, that sucks. But man, losing control of your player character on like an emotional and intellectual level as well, that is a next level of feels bad. And yeah, I know that, but charm exists, and it can lead to a lot of very dramatic and juicy moments. So for your character to lose control of themselves, and maybe you could frame it like they're in the inside looking out, but they have no control over their body as you slit your wizard's throat. Or you could have it be like everything made sense to you, and all of a sudden you come to a dark realization that you could be convinced to turn against your party members. You just need to have the right person. That could lead to like a bunch of like really cool moments of realization for you. There are ways to incorporate the charm effect into your character story and make it cool and fun and interactive. It is very important that you show some effort in holding true to the charmed condition effects, because that is all I am looking for as a DM. I am not looking for the min-maxed options to kill your entire party member if that's what you want to do, because, you know, there could be some things where, like, you know, there's a little piece inside of you that's against it, so that you don't want to cast Fireball on all of your level 3 companions and get a TPK. Rather, you could cast Magic Missile and still inflict a good amount of damage on the monk, but it's not killing everyone. All DMs are looking for, or at least all they should be looking for, is a sign of some effort that you are putting in your resource pool to uplift the spirit of the charm effect. So long as that is met, you're golden. But if you are a like level 50 wizard and all of a sudden you fall under the charm effect and the message is kill the monk, and you go over there and you draw your dagger that you got in your equipment pack at level 1 and you stab them for a d4 damage, that's bad sportsmanship. That's bad etiquette. It's very obvious what you would be trying to do if that's the case. And in that case, it's just, don't be surprised if the DM takes control of your player if you try to do things like that. It needs to be just enough to feel like you are playing into the charm, but also not necessarily min-max. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, if you want to go hard, but there is a minimal amount of effort that needs to be shown when you are charmed to uphold the spirit of the charm effect, whatever that effect may be, because again, there are many different ways that charm can be interpreted. And that's basically it. Players, DMs, if you work together on these things, you will have a very cool condition that will spice up the combat in probably the most intricate way out of any condition that I'm familiar with in 5e. So, yeah. Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, subscribe, like, follow, and if you want to see us play live, we play on Twitch Wednesdays and Saturdays. Go ahead and check us out on there, give us a follow, and of course, if you disagreed with everything that I said, leave a comment below. If you agreed with everything I said, comment down below, and if you have anything to say that's in between, I'm sorry. You're just not important enough for me to warrant asking you to comment. I'm sorry. We only do extreme views on YouTube. It's either this way or the other way. There's nothing in between. But I digress. Thank you everyone so much for watching. You're fucking awesome. Appreciate you. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Cheers. Why, hello there. Didn't see you. My God, you are looking... so stupid.